Alright, this is LSAT PrepTest 24, Section 4, questions 11 through 17, the third logic game of this section. Okay, so what do we have? We have that at a small press, 6 textbooks, 3 introductory, F, G, and H, so F, G, and H, and 3 advanced, X, Y, and Z. These are introductory, these are advanced, right? Will each be evaluated once by the editor Juarez, and once by the publisher Rosenberg during 6 consecutive weeks, week 1 through week 6. Each evaluator evaluates exactly 1 textbook per week. No textbook will be evaluated by Juarez and Rosenberg during the same week. Okay, so this is what we've got. We've got J, we've got R, and we've got a series of 6 weeks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And that's ugly, but you get the point. Right? The point is that on each one of these weeks, both Juarez and Rosenberg are going to be evaluating one of these 6 books. So what we know is that this is a one-to-one sort of distribution type of game, right? Okay. And no textbooks can be evaluated by both of them during the same week, which means that, like for example, there's no FF in week 1 or XX in week 2 or whatever the case may be. Okay, so the following additional constraints apply. Rosenberg cannot evaluate any introductory textbook until Juarez has evaluated that textbook. Okay, so rule number 1. Right, well, and you have to remember that whenever they're talking about introductory or advanced, they're talking about just these subsets, right? And so just visually speaking, Rosenberg can't evaluate something until after Juarez has. So if F is, it has to look something like this, right? Because Juarez has to review it before Rosenberg can view it. We have no idea how much later, but the bottom line is that they have to look like this, right? And rule number 2 is very similar. Rule number 2 says J cannot evaluate any advanced textbook until R has evaluated that textbook. So now we take a look at the advanced textbooks. All right, Rosenberg's got to see it before J sees it in each of these cases. Z, Z, right? And so you see what I've done here. I've made it very visual. It makes it very easy for me to see whether or not something is a valid placement of the elements just by checking whether this relationship exists, right? Like top left to bottom right in this case, bottom left to top right in this case. Okay, third rule. Rosenberg cannot evaluate any 2 introductory textbooks consecutively. Okay, so as far as Rosenberg's concerned, II is completely out. And how about 4? Juarez must evaluate X during week 4. Okay, so we can just put X directly into our chart. Right? Okay, so I mean, let's think about this for a second. Like, what are the inferences that we can make? So clearly, there's not many inferences we can make here, but this one seems to be a very, very big one. Right? So I mean, let's just review. Right? We have 3 introductory, 3 advanced textbooks. There's no way we can put 2 of these next to each other. So they've each got to be separated out. So there's got to be an introductory and then something between the introductory ones, right? Well, what is the only other thing that can go between the introductory ones? Well, the advanced ones, right? So we know that this is true for sure. And then the question just becomes, does Rosenberg start with an advanced textbook, or does he end with an advanced textbook? And the answer to that question is seen up here, right? Because look at the relationship. When we have an advanced textbook, Rosenberg must see it before Juarez does, right? So if Rosenberg ends on an advanced textbook, Juarez is never going to see this textbook. If this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, then Juarez would need a 7th day in order to see this advanced textbook. And that can never be the case, right? So forget it. We can actually just get rid of this scenario right now. There is no way that Rosenberg ever ends on an advanced textbook, which means that, therefore, by default, he must begin on an advanced textbook, right? And so we actually know the exact order, maybe not of the specific books that Rosenberg is reading, but definitely this one's got to be advanced, then this one's got to be introductory, then advanced, introductory, advanced, introductory. And this is the big deduction of the game that will really, really, really help you moving forward. Okay, rule number 4 is just right up here, right? Rule number 4, X is in 4 as far as J is concerned. Okay, so this is our setup. This is the big deduction we've made, and so now we never touch this stuff again, and we're just going to go straight to the questions. Okay, starting with question 11, I actually copied and pasted this the answer to this from the test in order to illustrate probably the faster way to check what's going on, right? So I mean, once again, this is your typical process of elimination question. Which of the following is an acceptable evaluation schedule? Textbooks listed in order of evaluation from week 1 through week 6, right? So basically, they just give you a list. They ask you to eliminate them, right? Okay, so starting with rule number 1, right? F on top before F on the bottom, so on and so forth, right? So we just draw these lines: F to F, G to G, H to H. Rule number 1, fine. How about rule number 2? X to x, y to y, z to z. Good. Rule number 2, also fine, right? Rule number 3, advanced has to come first. So advanced, introductory, advanced, introductory, advanced, introductory. Great. So far, so good. But look at this fourth rule. Horace has to do x and 4, while he only does x and 3 here. So answer choice A is not going to be correct. Okay. Let's do the same thing with the rest of them. F to F, G to G, H to H. Right? We should actually just take these one rule at a time. G to G, H to H, F to F. Right? F to F, answer choice D is not going to be correct. Right? And then answer choice E, F to F, G to G, H to H. Okay. Next rule. Y to Y, X to X, Z to Z. X to X, Y to Y, Z to Z. Okay, great. X to X, Y to Y. This blue line goes the other way. So get rid of that too. Right. So we've burned through 3 of our rules. Like this fourth one, this first one, the second one. So the last one just entirely comes down to whether or not he starts on advanced or starts on introductory. Right. So in answer choice B, he starts on advanced. And answer choice C also starts on advanced. Look. Y, F, X, G, Z, H. Right. Advanced, introductory, advanced, introductory, advanced, introductory. Here, advanced, introductory, introductory. Right. This is the part that makes it incorrect. So it turns out answer choice B is the correct answer to this question. Okay, moving to 12. So 12 gives us a new piece of information. So up top, same as always, is Juarez, then Rosenberg. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 6. Right. So we have 6 weeks worth of slots, and we fill in the information we know. We know that J, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. J's got to be doing X and 4. Okay. And so what additional information they give us? They give us that if J evaluates H during week 3. Okay, Rosenberg evaluates G during week 6. Which of the following must be true? Okay, and so this is information they give us, which means that we have to be able to, figure something out. So once again, advanced, intermediate, advanced, or not intermediate, introductory, rather, right? Okay, so look what we have here, right? So we have G down here, but then there's all kinds of places that Horace could evaluate G before Rosenberg does. We have X up here, but there's 2 slots where Rosenberg can evaluate X before Horace does. So that leaves us with H, right? But look at this. H has to be evaluated by Horace before it's evaluated by Rosenberg, right? H, and then this dash, and then H, right? And there's 2 places that could go, except one of them is already taken up by G, right? So if H has to go down this way, and G already takes up one of these slots, that means that H must be evaluated here in this fourth slot down here, right? Okay, and sometimes that might be enough, but scanning our answer choices, that's not actually an answer choice. That Rosenberg evaluates H during week 4, so there's got to be something more, right? And so the answer to this question really hinges on your ability to see this big deduction, right? Because look what we have here. We have 3 introductory books. 2 of them are spoken for. We have 1 introductory book left and 1 slot to put it in. So now F has to go here. Which means that, wait, what do we know about F? We know that J's got to evaluate it before R. So if R evaluates in 2, J must evaluate it in 1, right? So once again, F to F, H to H, and then G somewhere over here to G somewhere down here, right? And that is an answer choice, right? If we look at A, B, C, D, and E, right? Now we see. Answer choice A, Horace evaluates F during week 1. That's got to be it. Right? Looking at the rest of them, evaluates G during week 2. There's no reason. He could evaluate it during week 5 as well and still follow the rule. So B doesn't have to be true. J evaluates Z during week 6. He could, but he could also not, right? Because even if he evaluated in, let's say he does it in week 2, R could evaluate Z in week 1, right? And so you would hold this relationship still steady. So answer choice C doesn't have to be true. How about D? Rosenberg evaluates X during week 1. He could, but he could also do it in 3, right? The bottom line is that only he has to come before 4, so either 1 or 3 will do. And how about E? Rosenberg evaluates Y during week 5. Well, he could, but he could also do it in either 3 or 1, right? Because we just said it just depends on where Horace does it, right? Because if Rosenberg does it in 5, then Horace would have to do it in 6. But if Rosenberg did it in 3, then Horace could do it in 5 or 6, and so on and so forth. And it really what it boils down to is we don't know a whole lot about what Horace does, right? Other than the fact that the F's, G's, and H's have to be in this relationship, we don't have a rule about the placement of his stuff. Whereas we do have a rule about the placement of Rosenberg's stuff. So this is going to be the key to this entire game. Right. But in any case, answer choice A is the correct answer to this question. Okay, moving on to question 13. Question 13 asks us, if Juarez evaluates Z during week 2, okay, so let's actually just put that in. So J and R, I'm actually just going to do this. So J evaluates X in week 4, now he evaluates Z during week 2, right? Which of the following textbooks, or then Rosenberg must evaluate which one of the textbooks during week 5. Okay, so this is what's going on, right? X and Z are both advanced textbooks, which means that Rosenberg has to evaluate them before Juarez does. And Rosenberg has a very strict sort of pattern that he must follow, right? So here's the deal, right? He has like Z is evaluated by Juarez in week 2, which means that it has to be evaluated by Rosenberg in week 1, right? And then X is evaluated in week 4 by Juarez, which means that it must be evaluated in week 3 by Rosenberg. There's no way around this, right? And so what's left, right? Now, since X and Z are spoken for, the only advanced book left is Y. So Y has got to be in this last advanced book slot in Rosenberg. And so since he must see it before Juarez does, this same thing applies, and now Juarez has to see Y in week 6. Right, but then what's the question they ask us? They ask us which of then Rosenberg must evaluate which of the following in week 5. He has to evaluate Y in week 5, right? And that's answer choice D. Right. So once again, another question that hinges on your ability to see this big deduction right here. Right. Okay. 14. Which of the following must be true? Okay. So looking, like they don't give us any new information here, so it must be that we can figure it out from the stimulus. The only big deduction we made from the stimulus is that advanced, introductory, advanced, introductory, advanced, introductory. Like this was the big thing, right? So there's literally no way that we can know anything else just by these patterns, right? So looking at these answer choices, answer choice A, Rosenberg evaluates H during week 6. That doesn't have to be true. Like why does that have to be true, right? Because it's F, G, and H like this? No way, right? And like a lot of these things actually could be true, but at the point that they start asking you what must be true, there's no reason that Rosenberg has to evaluate H in week 6. What if we do like H in 1 and 2, and then F in 3 and 4, and G in 5 and 6, right? That doesn't have to be the case. How about B? Rosenberg evaluates an advanced textbook during week 3. Yeah, that's it, right? That's the only deduction that we're able to make up front, and so this has to be the answer to the question. Looking at the rest of them, they all start with Juarez. Juarez evaluates an advanced textbook during week 2. Juarez evaluates Y before G. Juarez does not evaluate any 2 introductory textbooks consecutively. We don't know any of this stuff, right? Like we actually just talked about this, that Rosenberg is the only one that has to follow some kind of order. Juarez can do whatever he wants, right? All he has to do is make sure that X is in 4, but other than that, he can do whatever he wants, right? Like okay, so he can't evaluate any introductory textbooks. He can't evaluate an introductory textbook in 6. But other than that, he can do what he wants, right? So answer choice C, D, and E. You just don't know any of this stuff, right? It could be the case that he evaluates an advanced textbook during week 2, but what if he just saves it for 5 and 6, right? You have no idea. Or answer choice D, evaluates Y before evaluating G. Why does that ever have to be the case? Like what relationship do we know between these two things? Absolutely nothing, right? And Juarez does not evaluate any 2 introductory textbooks consecutively. That works only if you read it like, this and this and this and this and this and this. But that just doesn't have to be the case. What if he does introductory, introductory, and introductory, advanced, 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 right? There's no particular reason that any of these things have to be true. So there's just no way. Okay. How about question 15? If Rosenberg evaluates X during week 1 and F during week 2. Okay, so let's redraw. Again, Juarez up top, Rosenberg on the bottom. Juarez evaluates X in week 4. Rosenberg evaluates X during week 1. Okay, so that rule is satisfied. And F during week 2. Okay, F during week 2. So that's the more salient piece of information right here, right? Because Juarez has to see anything before Rosenberg does. So if F is in week 2 for Rosenthal, it must be in week 1 for Juarez in order for us to keep that rule. Okay. So they ask us which of the following could be true. So like once again, we fall back on our advanced, introductory, advanced, introductory, advanced, introductory pattern, right? And so we can just ask ourselves A, B, C, D, E. Which one of these could be true? Okay, so answer choice A. X is the 3rd advanced textbook to be evaluated by Juarez. That can't be the case, right? Because then this would have to be advanced, advanced, advanced. Okay, but then Rosenthal? I actually totally forgot. Rosenberg, yeah. He doesn't evaluate his 3rd advanced textbook until week 5, which means that this this one must be an advanced textbook. So there's no way that you can dump all 3 advanced textbooks in 2, 3, and 4. So answer choice A, not right. How about B? Y is the first of the advanced textbooks to be evaluated by Juarez. Okay, could that be true? I actually don't know. It looks like in order for that to be true, that it would have to take up a position before X, right? But the problem is that, like, remember from the stimulus way back at the beginning, they said that they can't evaluate the same book together, so it can't be Y, right? And if you try to put Y before X, like you would have to in order to satisfy this rule, you can't do it, right? Because this is the only other slot that's remaining, and that's filled up by X. So there's no way that Y can be the first advanced book that Juarez that he evaluates. How about C? Juarez does not evaluate any 2 introductory textbooks in a row. Well, I don't see how that could be the case, right? Because basically you need an advanced textbook up here, and it has to be X, right? So X, right? And then this advanced textbook is going to be over here somewhere, right? And this advanced textbook has to be in this slot, right? So you see how basically this slot and this slot are linked this way. This slot and this slot are linked that way. And so what does that leave us? That means that introductory books have to be in slots 2 and 3. So there is no actual way for us to separate out Juarez's slots such that he doesn't evaluate 2 consecutive introductory books. There's no way. How about D? Juarez evaluates G during week 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We know this has to be an advanced textbook. G is not an advanced textbook, so forget it. And how about E? Juarez evaluates Z during week 6. Yeah, he can do that, right? If we put Z here, then that means that he can evaluate Z during week 6. That could be true. Right, so answer choice E is your answer to this question. All right, getting rid of this stuff. Moving on to question 16. So question 16 asks us, which of the following is a complete and accurate list of those weeks during which Juarez must evaluate an introductory textbook? Okay, so, right, once again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Right, I don't know why I went back to doing this. I think it just looks better. But anyway, right, we know that this is advanced, intermediate, advanced, intermediate, advanced, intermediate. And so what, or not intermediate, introductory. Why do I keep saying intermediate? Well, so we know immediately, like since this slot, has to be an introductory book, that this first slot definitely also has to be an introductory book, right? Because in order for us to follow rule number 1, if Rosenberg sees an introductory book second, Juarez must have seen it beforehand, which means that it must be first, right? So any answer choice that doesn't involve the number 1 is immediately out, right? So answer choice B is immediately out, but answer choices A, C, D, and E all include week 1. Okay, and so let's just go ahead and try to eliminate some of these answer choices, right? And so I see answer choices C and E, and I'm immediately suspicious of week 5, and the reason is that we actually just did a question where if you remember in question 15, Juarez had to do the 3 introductory books first and then the 3 advanced books, right? Which means that there's no particular reason that Juarez must evaluate an introductory book in week 5, right? Because we actually just came up with a counterexample of that in the previous question, right? So anything involving week 5 is out, which means that C and E are out, which just leaves us between A and D, right? A just says week 1. And D says week 1, week 2, and week 3. In other words, answer choice D says that this has to be the case, right? That Juarez has to do the 3 introductory books before he does the 3 advanced books. And we've seen previously as well that just doesn't have to be the case. For example, way back to question 11 where we talked about the valid placement of the elements, that definitely doesn't follow this introductory, advanced format, right? All you have to do is look back to answer choice B in question 11 to know that answer choice D doesn't have to be the case, right? So the bottom line is answer choice A, it has to be the case that Juarez sees an introductory book first, because otherwise there's no way that Rosenberg can see it second, right? But after that, it's all fair game. We would just have no clue what Juarez does. And again, that keeps in line with an observation we made much earlier, that Rosenthal is very restricted, but Juarez is not, right? So answer choice A is the answer to that question. Okay, home stretch. Which of the following could be true? Okay, so once again, Juarez and Rosenthal. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Right, where X is in 4 here. So they're asking us which of the following could be true. Advanced, intermediate, advanced, intermediate, advanced, intermediate, not intermediate, introductory. Okay, that's just something that you guys are going to have to deal with. It's introductory, and this one obviously has to be introductory as well. We just actually figured that out, right? Okay, so can Horace evaluate F during week 6? Well, he actually can't, right? For the same reason that this one must be introductory, this one can't be introductory, right? Because if we put an introductory book here, that means Rosenthal doesn't get to see it until this hypothetical week 7, which doesn't exist, right? So answer choice A, not going to be correct. How about B? Horace evaluates Z during week 1. No, he can't evaluate an advanced book here because Rosenberg has to see it beforehand. So no. How about C? Rosenberg evaluates F during week 3. That's interesting, right? So 1, 2, 3. Is F an advanced book? No. Get rid of it. How about D? Rosenberg evaluates H during week 2. H is an introductory book. That could work, right? How about answer is E? Rosenberg evaluates X during week 5. No, he can't do that because if you put X here, it means that Horace saw an advanced book before Rosenthal did. No. So answer choice D is the correct answer to this question, and that's the game.